and welcome to TimeLog's second 2021 power session. Today I am joined with Samina, my colleague, and this session will be about our best tip to the debtor list. My name is Stine and I'm a customer success manager in TimeLog. This session will take about 20 minutes. It will be recorded and sent out afterwards. And if you have any questions, please use the chat along the way and we'll follow up on those in the end. So I'm gonna start and share my screen. Let's see. Here it is. And let's look into it. So in this session, I will go through the debtor list, show you some great tips for search options and how you easily can create invoice drafts. So if you have access to create drafts and do invoicing, you should have access to the debtor list here. Debtor list. So here you'll have the option to search on potentials of payments and billable registrations. Depending on your internal process and how you do your invoicing, you can filter on specific customers, projects, project managers, etc. So if you only want to see your own projects where you are the project manager, you just filter on that. The view options here is also quite handy. The show all columns will add some more columns to the view, like who is the owner of the project and who's the project manager. And this is also great for the accountant to be able to do a quick follow-up on who projects belongs to who. The second view option only shows customers with non-invoiced items. This will give you all your customers and projects, but only the outstanding payments. So this is great when you want a quick overview of the outstanding potential. The last view option is if you are using the status ready for invoicing. So this is where you can sort on those marked. So many of our customers use it if, for an example, the project manager is not the person who does the invoicing. So then the project managers can set the status so the accountant can see that this is ready for invoicing and they can do the invoicing. But let's do a search and be aware that this is a test site and therefore there is not much data. So the first tip I really want to give you also is I would like to share that this tip is so great. So this is for the period selection. I would almost always recommend you to do a blank field in the start date, because when you do that, you will never miss a potential, and as you will always then search on all outstanding potentials. So if I just delete the start period here and do a search, I will see everything. So in this list, you will see the potentials I had on this site. The columns in the top here, this will show you your setup from in here. So let's look into it. So you have your customers, you have your projects, you have how many items that can be invoiced, you have on which contract, if there's any expenses, and the value of it, and of course if it's on a draft or if it's already been booked. So let's look into one of them. So you can see here that you have your customers lined up on your list, but you also have the plus tag. And if I click on that, you'll see each project on each line under the customer. So this is really handy if you just want to see on each customer how many projects, which projects there are, and how you see your items, which contract, and what the value is of each contract and project. So when you want to create the draft and do the invoicing, it is crucial that you consider if the invoice should be on a customer level or project level. So there are different reasons to want to create an invoice on customer level, but be aware that there can also be shortage in this, as you will lose the connection to the project. So often we recommend you to do the draft on project level. So the best tip I can give you here is to always be aware to click the plus tag and open to see which projects that are underneath each customer. So for this, I can see, let's say if you take this customer here, Rain, I see that it has 3 projects in here. I can see which items it has on which project and the amount of the work. So if I click the items here, I will see a pop-up where I can see where the registrations or payments are. So I have a time and material contract. There are a lot of registrations here, but it also has on this project 2 other fixed price contract with each payment. So this is where you see the total, and on each items you see it here. So let's try and create a simple, just a quick draft. So I'll do this on project level. Let's take this project for an example. I just click on the $sign here. And it goes to the draft. So on the draft, you'll see all the data up here. You see which customer it is. You can see that it is linked to the project. If I did not make this on a project level, it will not show this project. So this is just a good handy tip for you. If you are unsure if the project is linked, you'll be able to see the project in the top of the invoice. Of course, all the data you fill out with which invoice address do you have a contact, which invoice date, is it on the 1st or the 2nd, which date you want to set up, does it have a purchase order number, all the data you wish to have in here. The same in the settings here, headings, message, what kind of currency, the payment dates, everything in here. So the draft here will be empty at first, but we want to search for all the potential there is in this project. So here as a standard view, it will already have shown you, and I can see in the bottom here, these are all also the items that I saw in the debtor list. So I'll see the time and material contract with all the registrations. I also have the 2 fixed price here. So let's say I want to create this draft and this invoice for 2021 registrations and payments. So I see I have a payment here on a fixed price. I'll just want to add it. I can either click the plus tag here. This is very quick. Or if I want several payments to be added, I can check mark it here and go to the drop down to add it to the invoice. Let's just do a quick one. So I'm just going to click the plus. And it is now added to my invoice line. Let's say I also want some registrations. I can see that there are 4 registrations for 2021. I just want to collect these. I don't want 4 separate lines. I want to add them together. So I click them, those I want to be added, and I will merge them in and add it to the invoice. So when I do this and I click OK, it should be 1 line. It is. And I can just click here just to show which kind of registrations there are on it. So these are now summed up to a total amount, but it's only on 1 line. So the draft is now ready, but I really want to make sure that everything is correct. So for starters, I'll just want to save the draft. It's not booked and it's just visible in the invoice draft. So now when the invoice is saved, this is great if you want to prepare the invoice or waiting for something before you can book it. And then you will you will always be able to search and find your drafts in the invoice draft tab. So let's say I was just out and doing everything else in TimeLog, just want to find it again. I'll be able to show my invoice drafts. You can also filter a lot on this. But here I actually can find my draft in here. This is for today. So here it is. And then I can enter it again. So what I really want to also give you as a heads up, in the invoice drafts, actually right here, I will suggest you all to really go through your drafts, maybe once in a month, because sometimes employees forget that they created a draft, or they maybe did it by mistakes and then they forgot to delete it. So also be aware that if you have added registrations or payments on a draft, it will be removed from the debtor list, and you will not be able to find it on a new draft. So we hear that sometimes in the support that a payment is missing or registration cannot be found, but it is actually on a draft. So do yourself a favor and go through your drafts once in a while just to make sure that there's nothing hidden in here. So as you can see here, there are a lot of drafts. Some of them are empty, but there's also a draft here with potentials in it. So I won't be able to find that in the debtor list. So this is really nice to just go through, maybe delete them if it's not relevant, or go into the draft and book it if it's correct. But let's go into this draft we just made. And let's just book it because everything is okay. In this test site, I also have the ready for booking. You remember in the debtor list, I can filter on this to show if this was marked as ready for booking. But this one is okay, so I'm just going to book it. So now that the invoice is booked, I will always be able to find it in the invoice archive as well. It's right here. And again, a lot of filter and searches. And here it is. So what I would just like to show you in here is also the tags. Here you have the headings and the columns right here, but you also have a few tags over here. So the tags you see on the right is actually functions on each invoice. Here you can do a quick preview. You can see that here. You can create a credit note of the invoice. You can also create a reminder of the invoice. Let's say, please, you haven't paid this invoice. I want to create a reminder. You can copy the invoice to make a new one, make an internal note, or just print it. So some of these are also functions you can do directly from the invoice. So if I enter the invoice again, I have this little lightning tag up on here. So on the lightning tag, you can actually create a new invoice on customer level. You can credit the invoice if you're on it. You can make a reminder, or you can see the invoice log is what has been happened. And if you have an integration set up, you can actually transfer the invoice directly from there too. So that was actually what I wanted to show you.